In this video, we're going to talk about designing one of our most important mods on any spread, which is our quote mod. We have taken now our best interview and our best quote, the one that tells the best story, that has the most detail, that's most interesting, and we're going to put it in our smallest mod, but we want it to really be a showpiece. So we're going to create art for it as well. So what goes in this mod is one and maybe two if you have two really good quotes, but these are going to be quotes from people along with an image. So the first thing we're going to do is we know we're going to have an image in there. So what I'm going to do is say that it's going to be pretty square, and you could do this a couple ways. I was playing around with doing two, but I think for this one I am going to leave it as one, and I'm going to make sure it fits in that space really well. Oops, I zoomed out. And I'm going to have a nice square image that fits in these guides here. And that's going to be my image of the person whose quote it is. Okay? And I'm going to show you how to make that now. First thing I've done here is I've gone and opened a Finder window by clicking on Finder here. And I've gone to AirDrop. And I noticed right away that my computer says allow me to be discovered by no one. I'm going to say everyone. Okay, and what I'm looking for from my phone is the number on the back of my computer, which the one I'm using is 307558. I'm going to send now that photo that I want to use to that. And yes, it's a photo of me. Didn't have a lot of options here. So I'm going to say accept, and it jumps down into my downloads folder, which you can open here. And then I'm actually going to navigate from here to my shared drive, Holmes Journalism, yearbook pages, and I'm going to go into those pages that I'm working on, which was 54 and 55, I believe. And let's see what we got here, which this may not be varsity football, actually. I think it's labeled as varsity football, but this is athletic training that I've been working on. So, whoops, okay. Need to make sure I get that right. But this picture is for 54-55, so what I want to do is go get my photo out of downloads and drag it and drop it, make sure it's in that page folder as well. So it just copied over, there it is. Now what I'm going to do is go launch Adobe Photoshop PS, because we're going to need that as well. Once Photoshop opens, you're going to go to File, New, make sure it says Photoshop up here. Go to File, New, and remember this is actually going to be pretty small on the page. So when this comes up and we set the size, we're going to have to keep that in mind. So we're going to go here to Print, because this is going to eventually be in print. And the default size is like a paper size. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure this is in inches, not anything else. We're going to click that over to inches, and we just want a 2-inch by 2-inch square, and we do want that to be 300 pixels per inch. And so then we're going to say 2-inch by 2-inch square, create. And we're going to give it a second here, and there is, now remember this is zoomed in, so this is really only 2 inches by 2 inches. So once we have this, first thing we're going to do is go to Layer, New Layer. We're going to say OK, and then we're going to do that exact same thing again. We're going to go to, if it'll catch up with me here. Sometimes we have a little issue here. Okay, it caught up with me, so I'm going to do Layer, New Layer again. So I have a background layer, layer 1 and layer 2. And I don't want this white background layer, so you notice I pressed that little lock and unlocked it. And then I'm just going to drag it to this little trash can. So I just have layer 1 and layer 2 right now. So on layer 1, I'm going to click that, because whatever layer you have clicked on is the one you're working on. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to say File, Place Embedded. And what I'm going to do is bring in this picture of the person I'm quoting. It's going to let me choose that. And I know where I saved it. I saved it on the Google Drive, Shared Drive, Holmes Journalism, 2020 Yearbook, Yearbook Pages, the correct deadline. And then I have it saved in here, so I'm going to go grab that, and I'm going to say Place. And it will place it in here. Now, I want this to fill up as much space as I can. So before I press return to make this solid, while it's got this frame on it, I'm going to make this fill up as much as I can without cutting off my head. So I got a little shoulders in there, got enough space for my head in there, and then I'm going to press return. So now I have this image, this very scary image of me here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to opacity. That's how transparent it is. And I'm just going to knock it down just a little bit, and then, this is really important, then I'm going to click on layer 2. And on layer 2, I'm going to come grab a paintbrush. Now don't grab the pencil tool. A lot of students try to use the pencil tool. It doesn't come out as smooth. It doesn't look good. I'm going to grab the paintbrush and I'm going to go here. We have set the size that we want. So don't use any other size because we want these all to look similar to 3px, 3 points. Okay, so I've got a 3-point line. I've got my color over here. I'm going to make sure both of these are black, okay, by clicking on them and clicking on black. And then I'm simply going to start doing the artwork here. I'm tracing this. If you make a mistake, you can grab the eraser tool and erase it, or you can even do Command Z undoes what you did. You can even go to edit step backwards, edit step backwards. So what you're basically doing is taking a minute to trace everything. And there are some tricky parts. I messed up the ear again. There are some tricky parts like eyes. If you outline the whole eye like this, I'm doing a really crappy job, it makes it look like they're wearing eyeliner. And if they're not wearing eyeliner, you don't want to do that. So kind of think about some of these things as leaving some of them sort of open so it doesn't seem as weird. And if you want to see what progress you've made, I'll show you how to do that in 1 second when I make a little more progress here. So I'm doing a pretty quick draw here, but you can see as I'm going along, what I'm doing is pressing the eyeball on this layer to see what I've got. Notice it's good not to close all those lines because it creates a more natural looking face. Okay, I've done a little bit of texture for the hair, and I do want the shoulders in there too, so I'm going to add that. Okay, you'll notice I've added a little more detail in the shirt. I've even done the pattern on the shirt. All that matters, but what we want is a head and some shoulders in there. I like it best when they're not staring straight at the camera, but now we have a line drawing there that we can work with. And the next step is to create a new layer, new layer, and we're going to say okay, and we're going to take this layer 3 and put it in between the photo layer and the drawing layer. And here's why. There's a couple methods to paint things on Photoshop. I'm going to tell you the one I want you to use for what we're doing. Okay, we're going to have that middle layer selected, and that's so that our paint does not go on top of the black lines. And very simply, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the paintbrush. We can make it a little larger size now if you want. You can play around with the size. But what you're going to do now is also grab the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to start with my skin color. So that's a little bit rosier there. You can go find the spot that you like, and you might do a little blend of the colors. But now that I've got that color selected, I'm going to make sure it's selected for both. Okay, there, and there, and there. Okay, they're about the same color there. That's good. Now I'm going to grab that paintbrush. I made it a little thicker. And all I'm going to do is start on that middle layer. Notice if I go on a line, it just goes under the line. I'm going to start painting. Now, there's other ways to do this, but this is the way that kind of works the best. I'm going to make my brush a little thicker because this area is a little larger. I can kind of get away with that. And I'm just going to paint. And it helps when you're doing this part to see any gaps you have, to get rid of that a little bit and just paint it. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that for different colors and areas, but we're going to bring some color to this here. I'm going to make sure I don't have a lot of transparent areas coming through, and I'm going to kind of go over these things because it's all right, because I'm going to come with another color to paint the eyes and everything in a second here. So I've got that done. I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to knock that layer out for a second. I'm going to pick, I don't have gray eyes, so it might kind of pick up a gray there, but what I'm going to do is make it a little wider up here. You can take those liberties. Bring back your middle layer here, a little smaller. Okay. So there we go. And I'm going to do this a little bit more until you see a finished product. Okay, now I did this really rushed and in a hurry, so yours will look way better. But once you get this all complete, you're going to press the eyeball on the actual photo, and you should see what you have left. And obviously, like, I did it kind of rushed, so I would want to fix all this and clean all this up. But I'm just trying to give you the idea of what we're doing. So once we have this, we're good to go. We want this background checkered because that means it's transparent. But what we're going to do is once we've got that all good to go, we're going to go to File, Save As. We want to save it. It may not pop up as the right place, so mine did, but we want to go through the process, Google Drive, Shared Drive, Holmes Journalism. This is so that I can access it too when I look at your pages to send them to the company. We're going to go to our proper pages, which were 54, 55, and we're going to leave it as a .psd. We want to leave that on there, but we're going to say Singleton quote pick. So I know what it is, who it is, and I'm going to save it in there and say OK. So once I've saved that, I can go out of Photoshop. I'm going to return to InDesign. And now I'm going to click on this image, and I'm going to say File, Place. And it's going to bring this up to where I can find what I'm looking for. And I'm going to go again to Google Drive, Shared Drive, Journalism, 2020 Yearbook, Pages, Blue Deadline, 54, 55, and then there's my Singleton drawing. I'm going to say Open. Now notice it didn't really fit in there, so when it places in there, I'm going to click this white thing, and I'm going to double click on that, and you see how it creates this outline? And I'm just going to bring that down so it fits in the square. Boom. There we go. Now I've got my image of my person in there. And we're going to do a quick trick to it, which is we're going to click on it. And we're going to go to Window, Text Wrap. And we're going to select this one right here that wraps around it. Okay. Then I'm going to go here to my text thing. And I'm going to draw a text box actually over that as well. And notice that the cursor jumped over here. That's good. That's what we're looking for. And I'm going to label it as pull quote. And in here, that is where we do the quote. And we got to make sure our quotation's in the correct format. So we want a quotation mark to begin it. Then we have whatever text is going to be in there, whatever your quote is. I'm going to fill it with some placeholder text. And we'll say that I ended my quote right about there. Punctuation, end quote. Then what we want to do is bring that up a little bit, okay? And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to grab this and make a new text box. And we're going to call this one Caption Lead In. And I'm going to put a dash. Oop, let me click on it. Dash. And I'm going to put Who Said This. So we're going to pretend that I'm a student, so I'm going to say Senior Matthew Singleton. I actually think that caption lead-in is too small, so what I'm going to do is actually make it subheadline and then just make it a little smaller than a subheadline because I want it to be about 18 probably. And then I'm going to pull that over here just like that. And if you want to see kind of what this looks like in real life, it looks like this. I just kind of changed something so I could see what it looked like the real deal. And then what I want to do is I'm actually going to switch it to this style of text wrap because I don't like how it's not letting that little part there. And on the bottom one, I'm going to make it a little shorter so that my words can wrap around there. And then I actually want this to be equal with this. And there we go. That's our quote. That's our that part of the mod, and that part of your mod is done.